Okay, I'm going to do that again because there was no sound on that. I just realized my mic was muted. So let's go again. The fun of being live. So, what I just said was that this morning in our chat, we're going to talk about those moments when the conversation stalls out with your adult child, right? When they won't talk to you, when you're not getting through, when things break down into arguments or whatever it is. That's what we're talking about this morning, and how you have to keep the conversation going, how to keep the conversation going. So that's what we're going to talk about this morning. And I will be back in just a moment to get that going. And this time we'll have the sound on. All right, there we go. I think we are live. I I got it. All right. Well, welcome everybody, and pardon me while I mess around with a couple little things here. But welcome. If you are just tuning into this, if you are new and just coming into this, my name is Jonathan. I am a family therapist. I am an addictions counselor. I host a uh, private Facebook group called Parents of Adult Children Failure to Launch and Addiction Support. The links to that are in the description and the comments. I also have a YouTube channel with a library of videos. And so I have a lot of parents that I interact with and follow that follow me, and we provide a community of support, a community of connection, and of teaching and growth and knowledge. And so this live stream is a pretty new thing that I've been doing, that I added, and I'm going to be announcing it a little bit more here in the future. But it is a chat, right? It's a time to just kind of talk and answer some questions and give a little bit of encouragement, because there's just a lot of questions been coming in. So I wanted a format where we could talk. Now, I know that 10:30 on a weekday is not the best time for everybody. So a lot of people are watching this after the fact. They're watching this from on the replay, wherever, whenever, right? That's totally fine. So in that case, I still listen to your questions. And honestly, it's where I get most of the questions are after the fact, when parents are watching this and then they're posting a question. So put it in the comments, right? If you have a question that you would like me to address, because that's what we're doing. Okay, so what we want to do now is get into our topic today. And at any point, if anyone has any questions today, please ask. But here's what I wanted to start with, right? And then we'll go wherever it needs to go for this morning. Those moments when you're having a hard time connecting with your child, right? Your older teen, your adult child, right? And you know what I'm talking about, right? You need to talk. You need to talk about what's going on, but it breaks down, right? Something happens and they won't talk to you, right? They shut it down. They go in their room. They won't come out. The conversation breaks down into an argument, and parents are in this stuck place of, what do we do? I recently was hearing from a family, and this is pretty common, right? They had their young adult daughter, and they said every time they tried to bring up something, she would just go in her room and close the door, would not even talk to them, right? And gosh, I had so many parents this week actually give me that very, very similar story, right? Where they're trying to talk, they're trying to bring something up, and then boom, They go in their room, they drive away, they shut it down. There's other ways the conversation can break down too, though. And some of them are harder to notice because you're still talking, but you're not talking about the right thing, right? Sometimes it's an argument and it's going back and forth, but everyone's just getting more and more escalated. They're getting more and more dug in on their points, and it's not going forward. Another one that's tricky is some kids are really good at deflecting, changing the conversation, right? So now they're talking about maybe what's wrong with society, right? Or they're talking about what's happening over here or something else that is not really related to the choices they need to be making, the conversation that you're trying to have with them. And so a lot of times that thing can happen. And parents will tell me, it's like, yeah, we talk, but we never really get anywhere, right? All of those things happen. And first, I want you to know you are not alone in those moments, right? You're not the only parent that experiences that. It is very common. That's what I was trying to express at the beginning of this is even in this past week, I've had parents say, we're trying to talk, but they won't talk to us, or it gets into an argument, or right? It happens all the time. Why? Mainly because these are difficult conversations, right? You're talking to a struggling young adult, and they know they're struggling. They know they're stuck, right? They don't want to be in this situation. Even if they're telling you everything's fine, right? I've made this point many times. I have yet to talk to a stuck young adult who's really okay. Maybe they told me that at first, right? I'm okay with everything how it is. But when you really dig into it, that's just a front, right? That's just a way of them deflecting, or they're in a place of denial. They really don't want to be in that situation, right? And they know it, but it's hard to talk about. And many times with parents who are supporting them in some way, it's a complicated conversation, right? Because if I agree to something and I'm not able to follow through, right? If this falls apart again, then my parents are going to be disappointed, right? They're going to be mad at me, right? That might be in their mind. Or I'm going to lose that support, right? This is a conversation where they're going to take things away and I don't want to deal with that, right? So there's so many different reasons about why they don't want to talk, why they're in avoidance. But here is the main message that I want to give you. You can't quit. You can't stop. You got to keep trying to have conversations with them. And that seems like such a simple statement, but I really spend a lot of time encouraging parents who have gotten frustrated, they're hopeless, they just don't know what to do, and they back off, or they keep having the exact same conversation over and over that's not working, right? And so I spend a lot of time encouraging parents that, like, okay, you got to get back in there and have the conversation, but you got to have it in a different way, and you can't quit. You got to keep pushing, right? So what do I mean by the right way? The first thing is I really want you to take a look at what's going on with you as a parent when you're trying to talk to them, right? Pay attention to how you are approaching them, right? When are you bringing it up? Most of the time, things are being brought up in a crisis, in a moment of heat and high emotion, right? Your kid just once again did not follow through with what they said they were going to do, right? They lied again, or you feel like they're manipulating you, or, whatever it is, right? You're tired that they've been in their room for 18 hours straight and they haven't done anything. It's in those moments that parents are like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. That's usually not the best time. Often that's the worst time to talk about things. Emotions are high on your end and their end, right? And then also, what's your tone, right? And I'm not getting on parents, right? I'm just saying, take a look at this, because I can't tell you how many times I've had to really help parents breathe, right? Pay attention to, you're really angry right now. You're really upset. You're very anxious and worried about what's going on. And that is coming through in your conversation, right? I get the opportunity many times to observe parents trying to talk to their children. And maybe their message is right, but their delivery is coming across in a way that it would be hard for anyone to hear them, right? Because it's coming across as anger or worry, like they're being condescending. Their sarcasm is coming through, their frustration is coming through. And you can see the direct reaction from the young adult who's, either shrieking, getting quiet, shutting down, or they're getting angry, they're getting escalated, right? You just feel the tension as the conversation starts. Now, I'm not saying you can remove every bit of that tension and frustration within you. That's impossible, right? But you can be aware of it, right? And say, okay, maybe this isn't the right time, or I need to breathe. Get focused on the fact that you love this person. You care about them, right? You're trying to help them, and try to tap into that reality, more about love and compassion. And even when you have to have a hard conversation, when you have to set boundaries, you want that coming out of a place of, I care about you. I'm helping you, right? So I'm not saying change the goal. I'm not saying change your boundaries. I'm talking about changing your approach when you talk to them and how you talk to them. What's going on with you, your mood, your mode, your tone, right? And then the other thing is, you got to be persistent, right? And so you're coming from that place of compassion and patience, but you also need to be persistent, right? So a lot of what happens with difficult conversations in any kind of relationship is, if I resist, if I push back, then I'm not going to have to talk about this. Right? So when parents fall into that pattern of, okay, well, they went in their room and shut the door, so I guess we're just not going to be able to talk about it, right? It's kind of reinforcing that pattern, right? That I can get away from this conversation. Now, I am in no way saying you're beating down the door. In fact, I don't want you to do that, right? Many times it's coming back later. And think about if you were talking to someone else. I know it's a different relationship, maybe a coworker or another friend, and you're talking to them and they just are not in the mood, right? They're shutting it down. You're probably going to be more like, okay, this is not the time. But if you really cared about what needed to be talked about, if you really care about that person, you come back later and say, hey, I still want to talk to you, right? That's kind of the idea here with your adult child, right? There are times where this is not the time to talk, but you're going to come back later, and you're going to say, hey, and here's a great way to approach it, right? I love you. I care about you. I want you to be happy. I want you to be confident. I want you to be successful, right? And you need to move into this adult life, right? You need to take more responsibility. That's part of your confidence, right? This is what you need to be doing for yourself, right? And I want that for you. So that's why we need to talk. And we are going to talk. I'm not going to go away, right? As long as, and you insert it in the situation, your situation, but it's kind of like, as long as you're living in this house, we're going to have to keep moving forward. We're going to have to keep talking about it. As long as I'm helping support you with this financially or whatever, right? I need to see that you are moving forward, that you are on a path to take things over. So we've got to talk about this, right? But you hear how I said it? Love, compassion, right? That's where it's got to come from. And then the firmness, right? And sticking with that conversation. I feel that many parents really struggle with what I just said, right? Like, okay, you don't know how many times we've tried to talk to them and it's not worked. I get that. But you have to, right? You have to keep trying. And when you change your approach and you find that way of being firm but compassionate and doing that in the right way at the right time, right? That approach, right? You're paving a path, right? You're giving it the best chance to move forward. And it can move forward in two ways, right? Many times that's a decision point for parents, right? Where they say, either they're going to talk with us, either we're going to start working on this plan, or we got to start backing away as parents. So sometimes that's the clarity you need, right? And you need to follow through with that boundary. You say, okay, we're willing to talk about this. We're willing to help you. We're really willing to do all this. As long as you're talking, as long as you're actively in this. If you're not, we're going to have to step back. Sometimes setting that boundary and following through, like, okay, we're really not going to pay that bill. We're really going to move forward with what we said. That can create the conversation, right? Yes, with tension likely, but it gets the conversation going. And sometimes that's how it has to be. So you might have an angry young adult saying, I can't believe that you're doing this to me, but they're talking, right? And you can talk about why it's happening, right? It's never about, well, we're trying to punish you. We're trying to make you feel miserable. No, it's like we're trying to help, right? And this is what help looks like. So that might be a rough start to a conversation, but the boundary and enforcing the boundary got the conversation going. It's different than an ultimatum, right? And I know people want to split hairs on all these terms, but this is about a boundary, right? It's about what you can do and what you can't do, right? And what your support looks like, right? They're free to take it or leave it, but that's where you're going. So your conversation is basically about two things, right? You're consistently saying, I love you, I care about you, but then it's about where are we going, right? What is the plan, right? What needs to change? What's the plan? What's the next step? What are you going to do, right? What supports do you need? What boundaries do we need to have, right? And boundaries as in, what's your life? Like what are things that you're going to control and we're going to step back? Where is that line? It's future focused and it's positive, right? That's the one part of the conversation. The other part of the conversation, which is extremely important, is also what's going on with you, right? So here's the plan forward. Here's the next step. How does this feel, right? What's making this difficult? What's this experience like for you? What are you worried about? What feels overwhelming? What's getting in the way, right? You need both of those, right? You need the plan and the connection, checking in with what they're doing. That's kind of the framework, and you can pivot between the two of those, right? So on one hand, you're saying, what's the plan? What are we doing? And then that gets stuck, right? They're having a hard time talking about the plan. And so you can pivot to the other thing. What's going on right now? You're having a hard time talking about this, right? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling overwhelmed, right? Do you feel something not feel fair about this? Let's talk about it. So now you're talking about what's going on the inside. So it's an inside conversation, outside conversation. That's what you're having. And sorry, I'm just aware that I might not be coming through. I don't know. Let me look at this. I get these mixed messages on these chats. This happens quite regularly. I have one source telling me that this is live, and I have another one that says, nope, it is not live. So I don't know. So I just keep going, and I'll figure it out later. So if you're watching it, then you're watching it. If it didn't go through, it didn't go through. Okay, so but that pivot point is really important, right? What's happening kind of outside the plan, the future plan, the things that need to get done, the jobs, making it to school, whatever those things are, and then what's going on inside. And many times when the outside plan, right, the stuff outside of them, you're talking about the plan, the conversation's not going well, then you pivot to the inside. What's going on right now? Why is this so difficult for you? Right? And then you can help them work through that. And then you move back into the plan, right? So the back and forth. Does anyone have any questions? Right? I know I'm giving a kind of a straightforward approach to something that there could be so many different scenarios. So like for you, where does this fit and where do you get stuck with this, right? As a parent having these conversations. And as far as, okay. Apparently this thing is going through. I can't figure out this live streaming stuff sometimes. It's been a learning curve. I think in a couple of weeks I'll have it down more. Maybe I need to. You think it's simple, but when you're trying to just add like some of these, they call them overlays and things on the screen, and then eventually I want to be where I can like share the screen and stuff. Depending on what you're trying to do, it's like a different kind of software, and sometimes it doesn't go that well. So I'm on my learning curve about this part of it. But that was the main thing I wanted to cover today, is I wanted to give some encouragement to parents, right? That you can't quit. Don't quit on yourself and on your kid, but on the conversation, right? Don't measure success on whether you had this like amazing heart-to-heart conversation, right? You might have to come back to it repeatedly. You might have to change your approach. You might only get 5 minutes of a conversation today, right? And then maybe only a little bit next time. It's more about the fact that you keep trying, right? And think about what you're conveying, right? You're saying, because your message is, I love you, I care about you, I want you to feel confident, I want you to move forward, I want you to move forward with your life, right? That's a wonderful message. And when you're consistently giving it, right? When you're not going away, when their anger, when their anxiety, when their bad choices or addictions or whatever it is not pushing you away, right? That shows a lot of love. They might not see it like that. They might tell you you're annoying. They might tell you to back off and get out. They might just not talk to you at all, right? But when your message is, I care about you, and then you say, no, we are going to talk about this because you are that important. I love you that much, right? I care about your life that much. It's an extremely loving message, right? And so you don't give up on that conversation. And you've got to know that it might take a long time, right? But that's part of what you control. I'm still going to show up. And yes, like I said before, there are those times where you absolutely do need to enforce those boundaries. And maybe that makes the conversation that much more difficult for a while because they don't like the fact that you're changing how you're supporting them, right? But it doesn't mean you're going away. And that's huge, right? Even when you're angry at me, even when I have to show you the tough love, right? I'm not quitting on the relationship. And I'm definitely not talking about putting yourself in a situation where you're being abused, right? You know, they're verbally tearing you down. And it's not that you have to take that, right? It's still okay to say, okay, this conversation is not going anywhere. I'm backing out of it. You don't have to sit there and be, a punching bag in those moments. But what a powerful message when someone can just like spew hate at you and anger. Really they're projecting all of their own insecurities and angst and bad choices and everything. They're putting that on you, right? Because they just can't take it themselves. And you still come back, right? you might have to back away in that moment, but you come back and say, hey, it doesn't matter how you're treating me with how much I love you, right? But I'm not okay with this, right? You can say, I'm not okay with this. I'm not going to sit around and let you treat me this way, but I'm still going to love you, right? That's an amazing message, right? It's boundaries with love. It's boundaries with compassion. And it's honestly something that you want to model for them, right? You can stand for what is right and also still care about a person. So I know these are very difficult moments and situations, but you are not alone, right? There's a whole community of parents. If you want to get on that Facebook group, that's a great support for you. And that's in the descriptions, comments, that kind of stuff. And also that email list. There's some tools about the things I've been talking about every day here. Tools to help you to have those conversations and how to make decisions, how to move forward with things. So I want you on that list, and that list is growing, which is really exciting. And then, of course, I'm going to be here every weekday. 10:30 is our current time. If that changes, I will let you know. But right now, that's when we're meeting. And if you can stop in live, great. If you want to drop a comment or question after the fact, that's fine too. Okay, so I'm going to just check these feeds and see if anyone has any questions or anything that wants to pop up in chat, and I will be here. And I'm so curious why this happens. Where what happened today, right? Everything was going fine, and then it said it was dead, but it also said it was live. So I don't know why that happens, but that's happened a couple times. So I've got to get to the bottom of that. That'll be my research. That'll be my homework over the next time. Hey, this was good talking with everyone. I will be back tomorrow, which is Thursday, and I will be looking at any comments that anyone leaves. All right, you guys have a blessed day, and I will talk to you later.